has been stressing that he wants to go to Jamaica. I actually found a deal for, it's funny, leaving December 30th, right?
Mhm.
New Year's through my daughter's, but it's from Montego Bay. A lot of people are telling me Montego's not as nice as
The growth.
Montego Bay.
Huh?
Montego Bay.
Yeah, Montego Bay's all right, but because it's right where it's right, you know, the airport's there, and you know,
Crazy.
yeah.
So yeah, my husband would probably like me.
So I would, I'd either go to Ochoris or Necro.
Yeah, hey, with my $10,000 budget, 5 of us.
We were there in March break, and that's exactly right.
Yeah.
More than that.
Yeah.
Worth it, but come on.
See, I paid for 5. I paid for 5. We're 5, right? 3 kids, myself, my husband. And I just find that the time of year I can leave is already, it's already high in itself. 5 people is 5 people, and then the time of year I can go away makes it worse. So I end up going to like Cuba, and which is fine because the beaches pay it off. The food is what it is, but I don't go away to eat anyway. But I end up doing that, and even then, like I pay $5,000-6,000, right?
Every 5 days. You know what? The world's not made for us.
That's right. But we manage. Like I'll always look for the deal and I'll find it, but it just becomes stressful when, like, you think, okay, really, I could go maybe in end of February at least 2,000-3,000 less. But again, I can only go away end of year, that beginning. That's when it costs more.
Your kids are young, or?
3, 6, and 9.
When a March break, that's obviously kids.
Yeah.
We actually spent there longer because I'd rather give resort the money that you're
Right.
getting.
Right.
You know, you do the whole the day after the day off, after March break,
Yeah.
it's like half the price.
Right.
And so, but then this is our last March break together, the Kansas University. And you wait till that happens.
Yes.
You can't, then you're forced to go into Christmas time.
Yes.
And it,
Because then they have like, there's certain, right now my kids are small, if I have to go during school year.
absolutely, pull them out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But when they start university exams or college or even high school where they have deadlines and they have to, then at that point, good luck. Good luck, right? So I'm taking advantage now, but then you go to Cuba and you have to get 2 rooms. Which we end up using 1 anyway.
Yeah. So we go to Niagara Falls now.
How are you?
You enjoy it there.
But Niagara Falls becoming a nut show too. I went in August 3 days. I did 1 night at the Great Wolf Lodge.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and then I did 2 nights at Milk. It cost me over $1,500 between hotel and food. It's a good talking to you guys. It's a great course.
Yeah.
Here. It's the prospecting guy, Eric Eaton. It's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. He's really good.
Eric here? Is he here?
Yeah, he's here.
Good. We'll be starting shortly, guys. Okay, just give me a couple minutes. I don't.
خیلی بلاست یک چیزی یک چیزی نه خواهی من با مادر میدونم من از روی دیگر جو موفر میکنم بله یه دونه داره یه دونه بله همین همه چیزی هم هیچ چقدر نانست بله فلانی رو دقیقا نه من پایین شما دیدیم
تمام تابستون از وقتی جون شد تمام تابستون هر هفته اوپنهاوس داره و خونه های میلیاردی گلون همه فکر میکنم که من خیلی خواهم مردم اما خب خیلی تبلیغاتش چیزیه اثر گذاشته
من چیز اپراسیون درست کردم میخوام اصلا بهشون بدم ببینیم خوبه
جیمی مشورت اما کلا عالی پروف شما عالی من
من خود دوزن
ایران خیلی عزیز داره من دوستم ایران میگیره اصلا به فیلم هم چی داره نمیگه کاشته داره برو تو کاشته من داداش داداشم خودش بهش نگفتم اومده بعدا من اونم خودش من یه ازا بپرسم چجوری میشه مشهد چیز
Did you send it?
Yes.
To Academy? It's not coming through. Oh, here it is. Got it. Thank you. Excuse me. All right. All set to go. You know what? People are probably struggling between traffic and parking. When you're ready, Eric, I'd say just start because you have 5 people on live broadcast.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, all right. Good morning and welcome. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for being on time. All right. Say 80% of success is showing up, and you guys are here, so we really appreciate that. All right, awesome. So just a little bit of a house rules as we about to get started. If you wouldn't mind just whipping out your cell phone for me, please, and just putting it on silent, quiet, vibrate, or anything else like that would be fantastic. And as I say that, I better make sure I turn mine off, right? I've been known to ask everyone to do that, and then for some reason, I forget to turn mine off. Okay, so I'm super excited to share with you today our presentation, 5 steps for effective prospecting. I'm going to be getting some handouts to you shortly, so don't worry, you have the exact same content that I'm going to share with you here right now. You're going to have that content that you can take home with you. For those of us that are joining us live for our live broadcast, certainly just reach out to us and we'll make sure that, that you get the notes also. Now, there are some rules to effective prospecting, and I'm going to share 3 golden rules with you right now, and they're going to they're going to ideally help you to get more listings and to really close more transactions. And at the end of the day, I believe that's what we all want, right? We want to get more listings, we want to close more transactions, or we want to get more buyers sign on the contracts, things like that, right? So rule number one is you really want to offer value to your clients, to your prospects. I mean, they're going to be prospects before they become clients to begin with. And that's where it really starts. It really starts in adding value. And so what are some of the things that we can talk about where value is concerned? Well, I mean, you see them listed right there. There are things like, you know, being up to date, being current with mortgage rates, and what way is the industry going. So being knowledgeable where that is concerned. Offering your prospective seller clients market evaluations, and in many cases, not just a market evaluation when they ask for market evaluation, but in many times a market evaluation at a significant time. I typically say that if you've got someone in your database and you know exactly their home anniversary move-in date, it's usually a good idea to send them a market update at the very least once a year, okay? Housing reports. What can you share with your clients, contacts, prospects with respect to housing reports? I got to tell you that Roller Page does an amazing job with providing quarterly market reports like the housing price index and things like that, and those are phenomenal reports. And it's a great opportunity to take that information and repurpose it, either condense it, summarize it, whatever the case might be, and that's another way for you to add value to your prospects and your clients. Future developments in the area. We're pretty bullish and we're pretty big on pre-construction, as you know. So we've got a pre-construction department that gives you insight into things like future developments in pre-construction. So that's always a good value proposition to bring to the marketplace. And then local news. We've got no end of information as far as where local news is concerned. Certainly you want to bring the positive spin on that as opposed to any negative spin if there might be one. Information on local amenities. How well the area has done in the past 5 to 10 years. What's the forecast for the next 1, 3, or even 5 years? Those of you that are out in the Durham region, or maybe even some of the other regions, I just heard a forecast just the other day that Pickering, whose population is about 95,000 right now, is expected to grow to almost 200,000 in the next 10 years, which is absolutely staggering. Okay, and so what does the market look like in your particular area, or the area that you're, whether it be you're specializing in that particular area or you want to become known as the expert in that area? And what are the top 10 houses in the area that you would want to buy yourself? Now, it's really important to have all of this information and to be first-hand knowledgeable with respect to these things, especially if you're farming in an area or if you're working in a neighborhood where you want to become known as the market expert, right? So great first rule is to provide great value. So if you were working in neighborhoods such as condos, for example, you'd want to know condo names, the address of condos, what are the total number of floors, what are the amenities like, what are the nearby schools, builders' names, when was it built, what's the maintenance fee, what's the property manager's names, right? These are just some of the things that are going to clearly identify you as being the expert and the go-to person, all right? So, rule number 2, and this is a big one because this one is all about a positive mindset. It's all about a positive mental attitude, right? If you get up in the day and you're, you know, feeling that you're not going to have a great day, chances are you're not going to have a great day. Would you agree? Right? If you get up saying, hey, I'm going to have an awesome day today, chances are you're going to have an awesome day today. And regardless of how we want to look at it, we've all got challenges. We're all dealing with different things. But, you know, if you're going to be prospecting, you want to go out there with a positive mindset that things are going to happen for you, right? Prospecting is a way to market yourself, and you can't market yourself if you don't believe in your own capabilities, right? that's just, I think that this is probably even rule number one, if you ask me. All right, is having that positive mental attitude. It's an unshakable belief in the fact that what you're going to do will happen. I hear it so many times. I'll speak with someone, and immediately I can summarize where the challenge is. And a lot of times the challenge is with ourselves, right? It's how we internally speak to ourselves. It's all about the words that we use. And it could be as simple as the word try. Just, okay, I'll try to do that. Just that in itself does not have the same power and is not as effective as if you said, okay, yeah, I'm going to do that. So be careful of the words that we use because they're pretty powerful. They're pretty impactful. And how we speak to ourselves is how we end up showing up in the market. So try to take away words from our vocabulary that are not really affirmative in terms of what we are going to do and what we're going to accomplish, okay? So there are a couple of steps that we can do to overcome this. One of them is being knowledgeable as far as where our market is concerned, right? Being knowledgeable as far as our product, our service. Right? Become a specialist in your niche. If your niche is condos, become a specialist in condos. If your niche is townhouses, become a specialist in townhouses.
Can I have another one from Maria? She wanted to attend the session.
Right? Become a specialist in your particular market niche, whatever that market niche is.
Oh, sorry.
At the end of the day, you want to be able to help your clients. You want to be able to help your customers. All right. And, I say first impressions are lasting impressions, right? And if you show up having all of the knowledge, having all of the information, guess what? You're going to wow them. You're going to be the person in their books as far as they're concerned, right? The other thing is practice. You want to practice your skills. You want to practice scripts. You want to practice your skills and scripts over and over and over again. And by doing that, it's going to give you the confidence that you need, right? It's going to give you the confidence because they say practice makes perfect. Yeah, so I'm going to rebut that one. All right, you're close, and that's what we know. That's what we've heard. We've heard that over and over again. Didn't take him long to say it. It was like boom, just like that. But practice makes improvement, right? We can always be better than our best. That's the reason why the world's top best athletes, they're forever training, right? Just because Bolt ran the fastest 100 doesn't mean that he stops practicing, right? Just because, who watched golf on the weekend? Anyone watch golf on the weekend? Any golfers in here, right? Who won on the weekend? Tiger Woods, right? Okay, we all know his challenges, but yet he kept doing what? He kept practicing, so he could get better. And I really encourage you to practice and practice and practice and practice. Find a team up buddy, find someone in your office, someone in your home, or wherever the case might be, and practice your scripts because once you internalize scripts, it doesn't become verbatim. So you're not sounding like a canned script. You're not sounding like a canned pitch. You've internalized it. You've made it your own. You've structured it in such a way that you can deliver it right on the spot. And at the end of the day, people are going to be attracted to people that know what they're talking about. If you come across as being the expert, guess what? They're going to be attracted to you and they're going to want to work with you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So you definitely want to take advantage over your competition by being prepared, by having that market knowledge skill set, and being in that market niche that you want to represent, okay? So, third rule. Third rule is consistency. Just like any other profession, you gotta become that person that shows up every single day, all right? You gotta show up every single day, or whatever days that you've allocated for your real estate business. And you just got to be prepared to put in the hard work, and be prepared to be patient, be prepared to be consistent, right? There are notes up here for you, okay? Being prepared to be consistent. Here's a challenge that a lot of us have. A lot of us have a challenge because we're looking for an instant gratification. We're in that world of instant gratification, right? We expect sometimes we're going to do something today, the result's going to show up today. Wouldn't that be fantastic, right? And that real estate doesn't work like that, right? Real estate really works on a delayed gratification principle. You know, there's a big thing in our industry called farming. We all familiar with farming, right? And so, what's the principles of farming, do you think? Consistency, yes. Anything else?
Develop relationships.
Yes. So if you were a farmer, right? First thing you'd want to do, well, obviously you've got the land and all of that kind of good stuff, right? What are you going to do? You're going to prepare the land, right? You're going to prepare it. You're going to seed it, okay? You're going to nurture it, so you're going to water it and feed it and all of that kind of stuff, right? And then you're going to have a harvest, yes? So, does planting and reaping happen at the same time? No, it doesn't. It takes time, right? It takes time to build, to grow, to develop, to become fruitful. And so one of the things that I find that happens with a lot of agents is because they're looking for this instant gratification and this instant result, they don't stick with it long enough to see it come to its fruition. So they'll start prospecting today, no results came in, they stop prospecting. They'll start door knocking today, no results came in, they'll stop door knocking. They'll start cold calling today, no results came in, they'll stop cold calling, right? And so one of the things, and this is all about mindset, right? So one of the things that you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to have the mindset that says, hey, this is why I'm doing this. I'm doing this today so that I can do this tomorrow, and then tomorrow I can do that, and then the next day I can do that. So you got to have that mindset that this is a process, okay? And that each of these steps need to be taken in order for the end result to be the end result that I want. And in that way, you'll master the rule of consistency because you'll always do that one thing that you need to do. It's like, you know, I typically say to agents, you know, one of the best things that you could do is have a daily routine of adding people to your database. It's not about the result. It's not about booking the appointment, but it's about that one small step leading you to the next steps. And it's a very small and quantitative accomplishment. If you say, my goal is to add 5 people to my database every day, right? That's 25 people a week. And I don't know how many people a year that is, but I think you can see that the numbers add up quite significantly. And all that you were doing was just focusing on adding 5 people a day to my database. If you say 5 people a day is too much and you want to say 5 people a week, that's totally up to you. But if you were just focused on that, just that small task, then ultimately what will happen is that you'll have a pipeline of people in your database at various stages in the process, all right? Some people interested, Some people are not interested. Some people getting information. Some not getting information. Something they want to buy. Something they want to sell. And that all happens over time as you work through your contacts to find out exactly where they're at in the process. All right. So far, so good? Yes? Okay. All right. So let's talk about 5 steps for effective real estate prospecting. So we've covered the 3 golden rules. Okay, so we've covered the 3 golden rules, and the 3 golden rules. The 3 golden rules were provide value, right? So your value, having your value down pat, and having your value down pat is all about just like your value proposition, like who are you, what do you bring to the table, okay? And the next rule, maintaining the positive mindset, and the next rule was consistency. Yes, okay. You've got to have these 3 things before you even start talking about prospecting, right? So, whoops. So our first step is planning, right? What does the planning process look like in our business? And just like the slide says, a goal without a plan is really just a wish, okay? We could say we're going to do something all day long, but if we don't create a plan to make that happen, we're not going to know whether we're on track, off track. All we're going to know is that one day that thing that we said that we wanted to do, we never accomplished it, okay? So what are your plans? What are your goals? Usually, the best way to approach your goals is, first of all, determining what it is that you want to accomplish. What is the goal that you're setting for yourself? Okay. For some of us, it could be income goals. Maybe for most of us, it's income goals. For some of us, it's it's more tied into maybe the amount of time that we're willing to commit to our business, or the amount of transactions that we want to do. But ultimately, whatever that goal is that you set for yourself, then the next thing you want to do is you want to break it down into small events. What are some of these small milestones that I need to do to accomplish the goal? Because if we keep looking at the end goal, we're never going to get there, right? But if we focus just on the small, it's like my daily method of operation, DMO. What's my daily method of operation in my business? What are the daily things that I need to do in my business to actually get to that end goal? Okay. So I need to make sure I get up in the morning, get in front of my computer, get into my office, whatever the case might be, start my day bang right on every day at 8:30, 9 o'clock, whatever that time might be. All right. I want to make sure that I prospect each and every single day. Either I'm going to meet with people, I'm going to network with people, or I'm going to go through my database. I'm going to find all of my contacts that are homeowners, because I've tagged everyone in my database who's a homeowner. I know exactly when their home anniversary date is. I'm going to send out home market reports to them. Or it might be the amount of listings that we need to get, or the number of sales we want to close. So we want to have a clear idea what that planning process is. Now, we're coming up to the end of the year. And what do most business people do, or agents need to do for the coming year? What? Taxes? Yes, but that's not the answer I was looking for, but yes, that's one of them. What? Any other ideas? Any other suggestions?
Planning for the new year. Business plan for the new year.
Business plan, okay? How many of you have got a business plan for 2019? The year that we're in right now, okay? All right, so how many of you plan to have a business plan for 2020? I think that's the more appropriate question, right? Eric, if I had a plan, I wouldn't be here. Okay. All right. So we all plan to have a business plan for 2020, correct? All right. So there are a couple of great. There's one in particular, and you certainly should take advantage of this. If you don't already have an outline for a plan, either from your business office manager or anyone else like that, there is a business plan that you can set up in RollaPage Smart Studio. Has anyone ever seen that? Yes, a couple of you? Okay. So you're going to want to log into RollaPage Smart Studio, and you're going to want to go through setting up a business plan. Once you log into RollaPage Smart Studio, you'll find one of the videos there that will show you how to set up a business plan in Smart Studio. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to basically walk through the system. You're going to say, here's what I want to accomplish. Here's how much my income I want to make. And here's what the average prices are in my particular marketplace. Here's how many people I have in my database. Here's what my commission structure is, my commission split is, and my tax rate and everything else like that. And it will spit out for you a business plan. It'll tell you how many people you need to be contacting each and every day, how many buyer transactions you need to do, how many seller transactions you need to do, how many listings you need to take, how many buyer contracts you need to write. And you need that, right, in order to assist you in your business planning process. Does that make sense? Yeah? Are we going to do that? Yes? Okay. All right. Ultimately, you're going to end up with something like this. What your yearly income goal is, your monthly income goal, your weekly income goal, what your target average sales prices are, your target average commission per sale, transaction size for the year, total transactions per month, things like this, right? You're going to have an outline that will help you determine whether you're on track, off track, more importantly, what you need to do to accomplish your goal. Is that good? Yeah? All right. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to define who your target audience is. All right? So now that's different for everyone, right? Everyone's target audience is different. Some of us want to work with investors. Some of us are more comfortable working with buyers. Some of us want to only focus working with sellers. And it could vary based on type of property. You might be in a marketplace where condominiums are more your preferred product type, so to speak. Or you could be a cottage country, and so cottage is a more in line with what your target market is. Whatever your target market is, whether you work with buyers, sellers, condos, cottage, commercial, whatever the case might be, it's really important to have a clear focus on that particular audience. And the reason being is it will allow you to develop a skill set that speaks to those individuals more so than trying to be everything to everybody. If you're trying to be everything to everybody, then you have to acquire all the knowledge for all of those variables or variances, and it can make it somewhat a bit challenging and somewhat a bit overwhelming. Jack of all trades, a master of none is what they say, right? Is we're trying to be everything to everybody. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a general knowledge as far as real estate is concerned, and we all have access to what we consider to be the biggest things. I'm not really sure what's really happening here right now. But so we all have access to the same information. So we've got access to TREB, we've got access to the database, right? And a lot of times what it really boils down to, that individual trusting you. Does that make sense? Yeah? So sometimes it boils down to that individual trusting you. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't represent someone as far as a condominium transaction is concerned, or as far as a residential property is concerned, or anything else like that. But the clearer that you can define your target audience, you'll be able to speak to them in such a way that they'll perceive you as being the expert. Yes? Okay? And not necessarily someone else. So that's all part and parcel of defining your target audience. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set up a support system. Right? And what does that look like? And for the most part, you want to be prepared. You want to be, you want to make sure that you are clearly prepared for the task at hand, so to speak. I generally say to agents, if you were going out fishing, let's just use fishing as an analogy. I'm not sure how many of us are fishers in here. But generally speaking, if you were going to go out fishing, there's going to be a few things that you need to have, right? Okay, one of them would be a fishing rod, yes. Next one would be tackle box, yes. Next thing would be, how about yes and no, maybe we could stand on the shoreline, right? How about a net? You need something to put the fish in, right? Okay, so in our industry, in our business, we're fishing for people. We're farming for people. But what do we have in terms of systems to enable us to do an effective job of gathering those prospects, gathering those people, nurturing them to the point where they're ready to do a transaction, right? So just by a show of hands, let me just ask you, how many of us are using a CRM right now? Okay, what CRMs are we using? I'm just going to do a quick poll. Exact. Agent locator. Exact. Not yet. Not yet. Excel.
Not good.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
So, I mean, Exact seems to be the runaway #1 system. I'm a big Exact fan myself, also Agent Locator, but I'm a big Exact fan. I believe their system is, one, easy to use, and two, it has everything in it that you could possibly want to have for your business, to run and operate your business, all right? And so one of the biggest challenges and one of the biggest mistakes that most agents make is not having a CRM system, or having a CRM system, and the worst thing yet, they've got the CRM system, but they don't use it, which is probably just even more worse than not having one. Because if you don't have one, you could claim, ignorance. You could say, I don't really know, right? But then if you have one and then you don't use it, you can't really say you didn't know, right? You're just paying for something, you're just throwing money away, all right? And so having a CRM is mandatory, 100% mandatory. It's going to allow you to manage your contacts. It's going to allow you to keep track of all of your conversations. It's going to allow you to manage your deals. It's going to allow you to identify who these individuals are, whether they're buyers, sellers, past clients, family members, friends, sphere of influences from your farm area, whatever that title that you need to give those contacts. And so you got to have one. And more importantly, not just have one, but you've got to use it, okay? One of the biggest things, and I can't even emphasize this more, is once you've got your CRM system, watch the video tutorials. Nothing worse than you having the system, but you're not knowing how to use it. And in most systems, they've got tutorials that you can watch. I can speak for Exact. I know they've got a lot of videos. Just go up to the question mark, click the question mark, that's the help section. pop down. There's tons of videos in there. If you're using Smart Studio, the exact same thing. Watch the videos, because the videos are going to help you through the entire process, right? I mean, business becomes a whole lot easier when you can sift and sort through your database and your contacts based on who they are, the type of contact they are. Whether they are a buyer contact, a seller contact, whether they are a homeowner, or whether they are a renter, okay? Whether they plan to buy this year or they plan to buy next year. Now, how do you think you know all of this? How would you know all of these different things about your database? Speak to them, yes? Any other way? And for those people that you can't speak to, speaking to them is the number one way, first and foremost. But there is another way that you can get through to your database to find out exactly where your contacts are at, and that's running surveys. I would run surveys in my database every 90 days. So every 3 months, I'm gonna run a survey. I'm gonna survey my database every 90 days. And I'm gonna use a platform called SurveyMonkey. Is anyone familiar with that? Okay, you can get SurveyMonkey for free, and which is great. And here are the questions that I typically will ask my database. Do you have any real estate plans? Well, no, first of all, before I do that, the first thing I'm going to do in my database is I'm going to want to make sure that I get their up-to-date mailing address. So I might find some way to get their mailing address. Now, one of the first rules is, and Richard Robbins says this all the time, he says, giving starts the receiving process. So find an opportunity to give your database something of value. Whatever it is that you're giving them of value, you want to be able to mail it to them. And now this is a different class subject altogether. Well, I'll just tell you what I use. I use Corporate Card Plus. Yes, if you're not familiar with that, Corporate Plus, Club Card, Corporate Card Plus. You know, it's a card that when you give it to someone, they can go online and they can save hundreds of dollars, maybe even thousands of dollars. Corporate Plus Club Card, right? It's a great opportunity for you to give something of value to your database. So the way I work with that is I'll say, hey, would you like a Corporate Plus Club card that you can save hundreds or maybe even thousands of dollars in everyday purchases? Would you like one? And they're gonna say yes. And I'll say, okay, great. What's your home mailing address? I'm gonna send one to you in the mail. Because here's what I do know. Most of you have a database or have contacts in your database, but yet you don't know where they live. Would that be a fair assumption? Maybe you know where they live, but you don't really know their address. Is that more correct? All right. Maybe you even know how to get to their house, but you can't remember the street name. Right? We've all done that. I know how to get there. Don't even ask me what the name is. I know it's a red door. Okay. All right. So find an item of value, offer them the item of value. In order for them to get the item of value, you need to mail it to them. They're going to give you their mailing address. Now you've got their mailing address. Your next question, and by the way, in this survey, it's a 3-question survey, and they can't get to the next question until they've answered the first one. And everything on that survey is all required. So it's an asterisk, they've got to give the information. So yes, they want the card. Here's their mailing address. Next question I ask now, the next question I ask is, what real estate plans do you have for the next 12 to 24 months? You don't want to ask them what real estate plans you have for next month, because nobody's going to tell you that they've got real estate plans for next month. But you could ask them, hey, what real estate plans do you have for the next 6, 12, or even 24 months? Do you plan to buy your first home? And these are all boxes that they can now select which ones they want. Buy your first home, buy for investment, sell your current home, refinance your mortgage, other, or none of the above. So if every 90 days you surveyed your database, you get an idea of what your database is thinking of doing. And you could ask them other things, you know, such as if you wanted to ask them, do you own your own home? Are you renting? Do you currently own your own home? Are you currently renting? Whatever that scenario might be. But really important for you to really know your database intimately, inside out, because then what that will allow you to do, it will allow you to be extremely targeted in how you speak with or how you communicate with your database. Does that make sense? Right? Because the last thing that you want to do is send first-time home buyer information to a homeowner. Or send how to sell your home to someone who's rented. You see, one of the mistakes sometimes we make is we send the same information to everybody. Right? And that doesn't work. The fastest way for someone to tune you out or to unsubscribe or to never open your emails is by you sending them information that is not pertinent to them. But we feel that the more stuff we throw up on the wall, the more will stick. And what happens is we just end up ticking people off. We just end up sending them stuff that doesn't relate to them, right? Send your buyer information to your buyers in your database. Send your seller information to sellers in your database. Send first-time buyer information to people in your database who are renting, and keep things moving in that direction. Make sense? So, number 3 is picking the right real estate prospecting tools. So you clearly know who your audience is. Their characteristics, how much prospecting you need to do based on your business plan. Then you're going to want to figure out what are the right tools, what are the right systems that I should use. And you know what? It really doesn't matter whether you're an experienced agent or a brand new agent. What you've got to do is you've got to find what prospecting methods work best for you. Okay. So I might like door knocking, you might not like door knocking. You might like phone prospecting, I might not feel comfortable with phone prospecting. Some people prefer to go out and all that they do is networking all day long. They don't do cold calling, they don't do door knocking. They prefer that person-to-person, one-on-one interaction, right? And so everyone's different, everyone's got their own method and their own way of doing things as far as prospecting is concerned. But if you're not really sure, then what's important is that try different strategies, try different approaches, so you can figure out, you know what? Yeah, this really works for me. Right, this really works for me. And the only way that you're going to know is by trying it and measuring the results, seeing how effective you were. And which is one of the great things, I'm not sure if any of you are using it, but most of you got Exact Contact. And if you're using the prospecting feature in Exact, and also they've got a coach feature. The coach feature will tell you exactly who to call, when to call them. And if you're added in the contact record, whether you made the phone call, whether you sent a handwritten note, whether it was an incoming call, or whatever the case might be, it'll track all of your activities for you, and you can see right on your dashboard exactly what your activities were and what were the results. How many appointments did you have this week? How many buyer BRAs did you have signed? How many market updates did you give this week? How many listing appointments did you go on? How many listings did you get signed? So having the tools and doing the things that you want to do is important, but actually measuring the results. Because once you measure the results, then that'll give you a clear indication as to what works best for you, right? Because not everyone really works best with all the systems. Okay, some will work definitely better than others. Maybe what works best for you is networking. Maybe networking events is what works best for you, okay? And so maybe that's something that you want to put in your schedule, put in your calendar. Maybe you want to know exactly, all of the events and things that are happening, real estate related, community related, in your market, in your niche, in your neighborhood, in your area. Maybe you want to make sure that these events are clearly identified in your calendar and that you are stacked and ready to go, that you can go out to those events and you can network, okay? You can meet people. And it's a great opportunity because people are, and you've heard this before, that people tend to work with people who they know, like, and trust, all right? And so one of the easiest ways for you to make that impression is networking, is meeting people face-to-face, one-on-one, in an environment, in an area that doesn't necessarily have to be about real estate. And just a word of caution, okay? You don't want to go in there flashing your real estate badge all over the place to people, because sometimes it needs to be a little more subtle. Sometimes it needs to be a little bit not about you, not about us, not about me. One of the first things sometimes is trusting our real estate card. It's like we're dying to get rid of kind of a thing, right? Okay, the first thing we do is we whip out our business card. I don't think that's really appropriate. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's classy. I don't think it promotes confidence. I think it more exudes desperation more than anything else. And people just, people want to buy, but they don't want to be. So bingo, right? People want to buy. They want to do real estate. They just don't want to feel like they're targeted. They don't want to feel like they're a pawn in the process. So yeah, it's not to say that you shouldn't be assertive, or not to say that you shouldn't exude confidence. That's not what I'm saying, right? But by the same token, being a little bit more reserved, being more about them than it is about you. Because I can share this with you at networking. What do you think that people like to do most? Most people like to talk about themselves. Okay? And so if you get into that, who, what, where, why, when type of scenario, ultimately, what are they going to do to you? They're going to ask you, typical question. So tell me, what do you do, right? Typical question, what do you do? And what would the answer be? What do you do? Huh? Yeah, I'm asking you, what do you do? Okay. All right, so here's your golden opportunity. And this works extremely well at networking events. Now, one of the very first things that we said, one of our first rules, one of them was to offer value. Yes? Okay? So offering value is just like, it's a value proposition. It is, what is your value proposition? What do you bring to the equation? Why should I hire you? Why should I work with you? What makes you different? Everybody says, I'm a realtor. We just demonstrate that to be a fact, right? What makes you different? What makes you unique? What are your services? What is your, as we call it in the industry, USP? You know that USP, unique selling proposition, or UBS, unique buyers proposition, or just general service altogether. Now, in Quick Start, if any of you have taken Quick Start with me, right? Any of you here have taken Quick Start with me? Who's taken Quick Start? A few of you, because I recognize some faces, right? Okay. In Quick Start, we talk about your value proposition when working with buyers, specifically. And so your value proposition, when you know what your value proposition is, then it becomes, you internalize it. It becomes a part of you. It becomes a part of who you are. It becomes a part of your communication. It becomes a part of what you talk about. And your value proposition should be not I'm a realtor, not I'm a real estate agent, because everybody says that, right? So your value proposition should be, hey, I'm great that you asked me that. You know, one of the things that I do is I help people in one of the largest financial transactions that they'll probably make in their lifetime. And it typically starts by me listening to them, making sure that I've got a good understanding as to what their needs are, their goals, their expectations, their time frame, their financial abilities, more importantly, what's important to them in the home buying or selling process. And then usually what we do is we sit down and we customize a plan. We help them to accomplish their goal. I generally back it up with a written guarantee of service, so they know exactly what to expect from me in the home buying or home selling process. And then ultimately I ask them to evaluate me because I want to know how well I did or didn't do in the transaction. As a matter of fact, I have a 98% overall customer satisfaction from clients that have surveyed me. So, you know, that's what I do for my clients. Who do you know that I can help? Now, did that sound like a script? Or it sounded like I was speaking genuinely from my heart? But that's a value proposition that I can use at any given moment. So I just shared that just because someone asked me, hey, so what do you do? No, I'm not just a real estate agent, right? And I would strongly advise you to get that out of your vocabulary as quickly as possible. You're more than a real estate agent.
Short answer.
No short answer. Short answers don't work. The reason why that they ask you, what do, you have to assume that they are genuinely interested in you, in what you do. And knowing what your value proposition is even more important when you're sitting with the buyer or the seller. Because how can we get the seller to pay us the commission that we want if we can't demonstrate or communicate to them what our value proposition is? Does that make sense? All right? The exact same thing with the buyer. The buyer comes into our midst. How can we get the buyer to sign the buyer's representation agreement with us if we don't clearly demonstrate to them what our value proposition is and why they should work with us? So, again, going back to the planning stages and being prepared, one of the things that you want to get clearly defined is your value proposition. It's like going out fishing and not having bait to put on your fishing rod. Okay? You've got nothing to hook the fish. It's like your value proposition, if you're going out and speaking to people and you don't have a value proposition to share, you've got nothing to hook them. You've got nothing to bring them to you, to attract them to you. So your value proposition, it is crucial. You have to clearly define what that value proposition is. because it works in just not in networking events, but it also works in events like incoming phone call. You get an incoming phone call from one of your signs. Someone calls you. And you say, hey, John, Joe, Sue, Mary, I really appreciate you calling me today. What was it about this particular property that caused you to call me? Well, you know, I like it from the outside. It looks like it's got a really nice curb appeal. It's got a double car garage because I'm looking for a double car garage, and it's in a neighborhood that I like. And you say, well, John, you know what? I really appreciate you calling me. You know, I'd love to also take the opportunity to share with you a couple of other homes in the area that are exactly like this one so that you can get a good feel for how this home compares. Does that sound like a good idea for you? John might say, yeah, sure, maybe, yes, no, maybe so, whatever the case might be. Well, John, listen, again, I appreciate you calling. I'd like to share something with you if I can, right? One of the things that I do, John, when I'm working with my clients, one of the very first things that I do is I make sure that I understand exactly what their needs are, their goals, their expectations, their time. Do you see where I'm going? Right? I'm taking the opportunity of that phone call to communicate my value proposition to John. Why am I doing that? Well, I know for a fact that if he's called 5 other agents, none of them have shared their value proposition with him. And I want to stand out above the rest. You want to stand out above the rest. So it's a dynamite thing to know exactly what your value proposition is, so that you can use that at networking events, so that you can demonstrate to those that you're in contact with how you're different than everyone else, right? So 5 rules you can use to maximize the results from your networking events are: attend the event right away, clearly lay out what goals you want to achieve from attending the event. You want to be presentable, you want to be prepared for every single event, you want to make sure that you're dressed appropriately. Obviously, you want to bring business cards with you. You want to create a solid elevator pitch, which is what I was sharing with you a little bit earlier on, your value proposition. You want to practice it, you should know it verbatim. And then you want to follow up on the leads that you get from the event before they get cold, right? So that should be your process, right? That should be your process of, why am I going to go to this event? What are the outcomes that I'm projecting from the event? How can I be as effective as possible at the event? And in my opinion, it all starts with your value proposition, right? Being able to take advantage of the opportunity that you're going to get by meeting individuals and demonstrating to them that you're completely different from everyone else. So that's networking. How about referral prospecting? All right, that's another great way to get new business. You can leverage your existing contacts, your existing database. All right. How many of us here have a system for getting referrals from their database? Any of us? Okay. So one of the things that I would say is I would make it a plan to call my database and ask for referrals. Right? That would be a good plan, yes? Okay. So if we're calling our database and we're asking for referrals, we speak about this in Quick Start also. There are 2 different ways that you can go about asking for referrals. You could ask for a referral by saying something along this line. You could probably ask for referrals by saying something along the lines of, hey, if you came across somebody that was thinking of buying or selling real estate, would you refer them to? Yes? That would be one way. And what do you think the answer to that would be? Hey Joe, hey John, hey Mary, listen, if you came across someone that was thinking about buying or selling real estate, would you mind referring them to me? What do you think they're going to say?
Sure.
They're going to say, sure. How quickly after you ask them do you think it would come out of their mouths? Instantly. So my question is, did they have to think about it? No. So is that sure that you're getting, is it a genuine sure or is it just a reactive sure? It's a reactive sure. Okay? It's not necessarily a genuine sure, it's a reactive sure. So what would another option be for us then? Well, another approach would be asking the question this way. It would be, hey Joe, who do you know that's talking about real estate right now that I could help? What does he have to do now? He has to think a bit more, right? He has to think about who does he know or who does she know that's talking about real estate right now that you can help. Now, he very well or she very well could likely come back and say, hey, you know what? I can't think of anyone right now. Or, hey, you know what? Funny enough, yeah, my coworker Steve was talking about real estate just the other day. Does everybody talk about real estate? You better believe it, right? Real estate is the #1 topic of discussion, always, period, right? Why is that? Well, it's the everyday person's way of creating wealth, right? You don't have to be a rocket scientist to create wealth in real estate, as if you probably would need to be if you were playing the stock market or something like that, okay? And the fact is we all need a home to live in. So everybody talks about real estate. So there's nothing wrong in asking, who do you know that's talking about real estate right now that I could help? Right? So that's a key thing. So here are 4 steps. One of the first thing you want to do, you want to make a list of all the contacts you want to talk to help you to get referrals, right? Anyone from your family, friends, customers, your circle of influence, anything else like that. Once you've got them on a list, you want to make sure that you reach out to them. Again, your value proposition is going to come into play, all right? Your value proposition has to come into play. You have to be able to explain, to communicate to someone what the benefits are going to be when they refer someone to you. What is that person going to get? Hey, John, Steve, Mary Jo, listen, I know you might be a little bit apprehensive in referring someone to me, but let me share with you how I'm going to help them. The first thing I do is I start by listening to them, making sure I got a good, clear understanding. I know exactly what their needs are, their goals, their expectations, the time frame. You see where I'm going? Right? You see where I'm going with that? All I'm doing is I'm sharing my value proposition, but I'm sharing it with someone who I'm asking to refer people to me so that they know what that individual is going to get when they refer someone to me. So do you see the importance of your value proposition? How many of you are going to work on your value proposition tonight when you get home? Right? It is so key. There is nothing that I could tell you more important than that is having your value proposition, or what we call your elevator pitch, right? Yes.
Does that also work on an email, sending emails with your value proposition for social media? Or does it have to be one-to-one?
I think it's more effective one-to-one, right? Because people can feel your passion. People can feel your sincerity, right? Sometimes things get lost between the lines. Someone reads the same thing, they get one interpretation. Somebody else reads it, they get a different interpretation. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's something to use in social media, but I would say it's something, well, don't get me wrong. If I were going to use it in social media, I would use it more in a video format than I would in a text written format. Absolutely, 100%. You get the opportunity that you can convey your value proposition visually, verbally, passionately, then yes, people will see for what it is, right? You can also partner up with non-competing businesses where you can have a mutually beneficial relationship, right? A mutually beneficial relationship is whereby you might have, whether it be an accountant, whether it be an insurance person, whether it be a mortgage broker, whether it be a home inspector. Well, they don't do a whole lot of prospecting, home inspectors do. But I would partner up with someone that has, one, that they have a database, two, that they are active, okay? Maybe they're sending newsletters out to their database. So in 1 month, they're gonna promote you to their database. The other one, you're gonna promote them to your database. I would try to find referral partners like that where you can both benefit from marketing each other's services. Yes? Right? So that's key. And one of the other things that I would also do is that, again, when you get a lead from your referral network, and even more importantly, even before you get that lead, I would say that we sometimes don't do a good enough job in educating our contacts how to send us referrals, right? You know, I've heard, you know, people say, oh, just give them a stack of your business cards. Hello? That doesn't work, right? I can't tell you how many people have come to me that have said, hey, I got your card, I don't remember where I got your card from. Whether someone gave it to them or whether they picked it up at a community store or whatever the case might be, right? So you always want to educate your contacts how to send you business. And I usually would say this. I would say something along the lines of, so Joe has agreed that he's going to send me some referrals. I say, hey, listen, Joe, I really appreciate it. Let me share with you how we can best make this happen, okay? One of the things that I would do, one of the things that I would ask you to do, Joe, is I would say, hey, listen, when you hear someone talking about real estate, say to them, Joe, one of the things I would like you to do, I'd like you to take control of the process. So when you hear someone talking about real estate, I'd like you to say to them, hey, you know what? I'm gonna have my real estate agent give you a call. So I'm 100% certain he can provide you with the information that you need. And then you contact me and give me that person's number. Now, you've known me for years. I'll be as professional as you've always known me to be. I'll make sure whether that person, you know, whether it's a transaction that they do today, next month, next year, whatever that might be, I'll make sure that they're in my database, and I will always see that they were referred to me by you. And you know I love to take care of my family and friends that help me in my business, and I'd love to show you some appreciation. That way, it's not that they've given someone your information, that person never contacted you, you never heard about it, you didn't even know that that happened, and now you can't even reach out and thank John for referring you to somebody, even though that person didn't call you. Does that make sense? Right? You want to be able to acknowledge the referral, whether or not the referral turned into a transaction. And the only way for you to be able to do that is if you know about the referral in the first place. Okay? Right? If they just arbitrarily just give out your card to people or give your number to people without you ever knowing that they did that, then how can you thank them for doing that? So It's all about educating your contacts how to work with you, how to send you referrals, how to send you business, right? So that you can, you can reciprocate and everything else like that. And so one of the first things you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that you thank the referral. You want to make sure that you send them a thank you card, whether it be a small gift of some sort, something to show them some appreciation for their action. Not wait for it to turn into a transaction before you acknowledge them and before you show them some appreciation. Yes? All right? And that's pretty powerful. It's pretty when you can have a small army of people waving your real estate flag out there, right? And that's pretty incredible. Just last week, I sent one of my clients out for dinner for 4 because of a referral that she had sent. Right? So, and what happened was I ended up getting 2 potential clients out of that dinner for 4. She actually went out with the person that she referred me, who became a client. Right? So she's a client. The person she referred me is also a client now. And then with 2 other individuals who I didn't know prior to. Right? And so, and even though she sent me a referral, I sent her a thank you card with a little package of goodies. I can't remember what it was now. Sea salt, caramel. Does that sound familiar? Yeah? Sea salt, caramel cookies or candies or something. Anyway, something, it was in a nice little package. And I thought, oh, this looks great, right? I didn't have to think about it a whole lot. 30, 40 bucks. It was good. So,
Question. In that case, for the high value, like prospect dinner, what's the best way to do that? Do you basically give a gift card in its budget, or do you give them a $50?
Great question. In my case, I went to a restaurant that I frequent quite often. And so I called them up and I said, hey, listen, I've got some clients that I'd like to have them come out for dinner. And so what do you have? What are the options? And so in my particular case, they had a set menu based on a particular price range. And in that set menu, they could choose from, A, B, or C, or whatever the case might be. And then whatever a bottle of wine costs, right? So, and there was no, I don't believe that we had set I just left it open, kind of sitting there. And then in this case, what they did was they called the client. They called my client, hey, Sharon, this is Joy from ABC restaurant here, and I just want to let you know that your realtor has an open reservation for you for 4. And so I'm calling to let you know and find out from you, when would you like to come out for dinner on your agent's behalf? And so they did that. They followed up with them. They went, I gave my credit card. They did all the rest, and that was all good. Yes. All right. Okay, so what does the planning look like in order to execute something like this, right? So you're going to make these calls to your database. All right, so what is your purpose? What do you want to achieve from the call? A lot of times, all we want to achieve from the call is really just to update our database, right? It might not necessarily be that referral getting phone call, okay? It might be, hey, listen, I know we've not chatted in a while. I just wanted to touch base with you. Man, I don't know. I'm not sure if you even heard or not, but I'm super excited about my career here at Royal LePage, and so yeah, I'd love to be of service to you. I'm not sure exactly, if there's any real estate needs that you currently have, but would it be okay if I kept you up to date with the real estate market in your area? What are most people going to say? They're going to say, sure. And now it's going to be your opportunity to say, okay, great. I'm going to send you out some information. What's your home mailing address? Because I guarantee you this, 99% of the people that you have in your phones, you do not have an address for these people. So one of the very first tasks that you should be making is updating my database with up-to-date information, right? Updating my database, making sure I've got proper name, proper email address, proper phone numbers, more importantly, proper mailing address. Boom, okay, great, thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm gonna make sure I get some information out to you. Oh, by the way, what's your best email address? You know, the one for friends and families, right? That one. Because trust me, everybody's got a gazillion email addresses, okay? Probably the email address that you've got that you think is current, they're no longer checking it. They don't know what email address you have, so they might give you the proper email address. So even if I've got an email address, I'm never gonna take it for granted that that email address is current. I'm always asking them, oh, by the way, what's your best email address? You know, the one for friends and families, right? And I'm always injecting myself into that friends and families category. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna make sure that now that you've got their address and they said yes, that can be kept up to date with the real estate market in the area, then one of the things that you're gonna send them is you're gonna send them property listings on their street. You're gonna send them monthly newsletter. You're gonna send them a quarterly real estate report from Royal LePage, right? You're gonna make sure that you're sending them information that's real estate related. All right, so what are some of the objections that they might have? Some of the objections that they might have could be, things along the line, well, I'm not really thinking about buying or selling real estate right now, so it's not a big deal. Yeah, I really appreciate it, but thanks, but no thanks. Right? And then which, that's fine. Hey, listen, I really appreciate your honesty and being candid with me. I certainly don't want to, overwhelm you with anything that you don't feel that you necessarily need. And if that be the case, well, who do you know that's talking about real estate right now that I could help? All right. Prepare questions that you're going to need to ask to qualify your leads, right? This is probably some of the things that you're gonna do on your call. But I generally feel that, your call, in my opinion, generally initially evolves around updating your database, making sure your contacts are fully updated. You want to practice your script, your value proposition. You want to have that nailed down pat. You want to visualize the other person on the other phone during the call, so you don't sound like you're cold calling and this robotic voice, right? You don't want to come across as being, scripted. And this is why when you practice your value proposition so many times, it just sounds natural, right? Okay. So that's really important. On the call, you want to be enthusiastic, right? You want to, they should be able to feel your passion for what you do, right? You want to be confident that you're going to get good results. And obviously that all comes from practice, right? Sometimes you're going to have to deal with objections. So, you might go off script, but then you should be able to come back on script. You should know exactly what it is that you want to accomplish from that call. So even if you get thrown off by a question or whatever the case might be, you should be able to segue yourself back onto your script, right? So the key thing here that you must have is you must have a CRM. You must have your CRM. And if you want to, you can use things like a real estate, like an auto dialer. I know some of you in here have had experiences with auto dialers. Any auto dialers come to mind? Any auto dialers that you can think of?
I just got one set up, sales guy.
Okay. Sales dialer, anyone else? Okay, Mojo is a very popular one. M-O-J-O. And if you go on to YouTube, I think it's like Mojo Sells, M-O-J-O-S-E-L-L-S. And so what the dialer does is the dialer will allow you to really kind of take your business to a whole nother level when we're getting into making phone calls to a lot of people. And rather than you painstakingly having to do this, it will queue up all of your contacts and it will dial those contacts for you. In some cases, if you set up your automated dialer, that when it connects with someone, or when someone picks up the phone, it will stop the dialing process and it will allow you to then engage with that individual. Or some dialers will allow you to record a voicemail message. Hey, it's Jackie. Sorry I missed you. Man, I really wanted to catch up with you, share some things with you, but I'll try you again another time, or certainly feel free to give me a call back. Now, when you're dialing and when you're prospecting and you're just starting out, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, or it's 6 p.m., or it's 1 p.m., whatever your time frame is. When you're just starting out, you're really enthusiastic, your voicemail sounds great, you're jacked, you're fired, you're pumped, yes? After your 20th call of getting nobody, are you as enthusiastic as when you first started? No. Will your voicemail sound as enthusiastic as when you first started? No. So one of the positive things here is that with some dialer systems, you can record a voicemail, and what it will do is that every time that you make that call, that it doesn't get someone to pick up the phone and that call goes to a voicemail or a recorded, it will deposit your very well enthusiastically scripted message into their voicemail. And so it doesn't matter whether they've called for an hour or 10 hours, every single person will receive that same high quality, well scripted and enthusiastic voicemail. Sounds good? All right. And that works extremely well for other ways of prospecting large numbers or communicating with large numbers of individuals using a voice recorded or a pre-recorded message. You can send a voice blast or a voice recorded message to individuals on your database during holiday season. Hey, listen, hey, man, I'm sorry I missed you. Look, I wanted to reach out, just connect with you. Hope you guys have. Wishing you a wonderful Thanksgiving. Wishing you all the very best. Looking forward to catching up with you soon. This is Eric. You might not be able, you very well might not want to sit there and dial 25 people. But yet you want them to get your message. All right? And so one of the ways to do that is to be able to record your voice and to do a voice broadcast to multiple people. One of the systems that you can use to do that is a system called Sly Dial, S-L-Y-D-I-A-L. And there are other systems around that you can find too, but that's one of them. S-L-Y, slydial.com.
Eric?
Yes.
Do these sales dialers embed to an existing CRM like seamlessly, or is this offline and the call counts and tracking is going to be separate for one?
No, it'll connect to whatever your system is. All right. So dialers, dialers, automatic dialing, leaving voicemail messages, voice broadcasting. It's just a really supercharged way of reaching out to your database. Sounds good? Are there any teams in here? Anyone here on any teams? No? Okay, so this is a pro tip for teams. Basically, teams could use it from this perspective. They could be running their leads through an inside sales agent or an ISA, as we call it, and then those ISAs are gonna use systems like a Mojo and a slide dialer and things like that, and call massive amount of people on a large scale, and then filter out those leads or qualify those leads based on the fact that that's all that they do. All that they do is make phone calls all day long. All right.
Can I ask you a question, Eric?
Yes.
Because I've got a lot of leads right now, so I'm thinking of getting someone to help me follow up on them.
Mm-hmm.
Like on more like sending out emails and things of that nature. But yeah, I know it's not common, but how do you structure that? Do you run a class like how to structure that or something? I know I've seen some classes for team building through the academy, but I don't think there's anything available.
Yeah, that I'm not sure, but I can speak with you about that at some point, Luigi. No problems. All right, so what's another tip that we've got? Another tip that we've got is reaching out and doing door knocking. Now, I gotta share with you. Door knocking is not for everybody. Like as we said before, everyone doesn't really kind of fall into the same category and liking the same strategies and so on. And to be really honest, you've got to have the personality for door knocking. You've got to have that. You've got to have that warm, bubbly, smiley. Like if you show up at someone's door and you're like, "You want to sell your house?" I don't think that's gonna work, right? Would you agree? Right? I don't think that's gonna work. No. It just doesn't go over that well. And so, you want to first of all make sure that this is something that fits with you and your personality, in order for you to get the best results possible, right? Because let's face it, they don't know that you're coming to their door, right? You're an unexpected intruder, invading their time and their privacy. A lot of times nowadays, it's not like back in the day when I cut my teeth in real estate. Door knocking was cool. People would open their door, right? Today, they're peeping through the people. They're sliding behind the curtains, right? They're going upstairs and they're looking down from the balcony from front.
No, the worst is that ring system they have.
There you go. There you go.
You see it through the camera.
There you go.
We're not interested.
There you go, right? Now they're speaking to you through their doorbell, right? So it's not easy, all right? It is definitely not easy. Again, I believe that, one of the best things that you could do when door knocking is coming from a position of value. Again, what do you bring? It's just amazing how things have changed a lot, because when we were prospecting for real estate, It was like, hey, you want to sell your home? You know, we were wasting a lot of time trying to figure out what people wanted to do, right? Now, it has to be a little bit more of a romance, right? You know, you can't be asking someone, do they want to buy it? You can't be asking someone, do they want to sell their home right off the bat? Today, you have to really take your time to nurture them. So door knocking can be effective. So first thing, sir, can you put your phone on silent? Yes. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to offer value. So when you go into the market and you're door knocking, what item of value are you bringing with you? Don't just bring a business card. If you're just showing up at their door with a business card, that does not cut it. And don't show up with a postcard that says free home evaluation. That doesn't cut it either. Everyone and their grandmother is offering a free evaluation. All right? Bring something that is going to be of value. And I could say that probably if you took an 8.5 by 11 sheet and you made half of a page and you had on the front and on the back. And on the front, you had whatever the name of your neighborhood is. And then you had some market stats over the last 6 months. So many condos sold, 2 bedrooms, average price. So many townhouses sold, average price. So many detached homes sold, average price, right? And then on the other side, you had your information, picture of you, your branding, your office branding, who you are, and why should someone work with you, whatever your value proposition is, all right, or whatever your pitch is on your card. And then this has value because you're giving them information, all right? So that would be one of the things that I would really make sure that I have in my arsenal when I'm going out door knocking. And then obviously, as we were saying here, the key to success is that you want to have a positive mindset that you're going to be able to overcome any objections that you're going to get. Then while you're out there door knocking, all right. The key here is you want to make sure that you maximize this opportunity. Obviously, dress appropriately. Dress for your marketplace, right? I mean, if you're out selling cottage properties, you're not going to go out there dressed in a 3-piece suit, okay? But by the same token, be professional, all right? Again, people want to do business with people that they believe are successful. And a lot of people's perception is what they see out of their 2 eyes, yes? Right? Have your good script, have your value proposition down pat, make sure that you know that. Again, value proposition, value proposition, value proposition. Have some giveaways that you're gonna give. Again, market update. And again, if you get some positive engagement, then depending on how that conversation goes, you're gonna want to book some time where you can follow up with that individual. When you're out door knocking, I believe that there is an app. And I'm going to tell you what that app is.
Stadia?
It very well could be. Sounds familiar. Yes, I think so. Do you use it? Yes. So Spadio, it's a great app. It allows you to keep track of all the places that you've been to. Okay? Because I think one of the most important things is, you know, when you go out and you're door knocking, you can't remember who was home, who wasn't home, who did I speak with, who didn't I speak with. And yeah, you can do a manual thing on a sheet of paper if you've got it all structured right and everything else like that. But this is an app that works really well. All right? Now, here's something about door knocking. It does require you to have really good prospecting techniques. It is going to take time. You do need to be consistent in order for it to yield any result. It's like farming. One of the things I wouldn't do, I wouldn't pick an area here today and then next week I'm in a completely different area. And then the following week I'm in somewhere completely different again. You got to stay focused in one particular pocket repeatedly over and over and over again in order to have any real good results. All right? Content marketing. So as a real estate agent, building your credibility, it's extremely important. It will help you convert more prospects into customers. Sending your prospects great content can help you achieve that objective. And some of the content, as we shared a little bit earlier on, comparative market analysis of the area or market neighborhood reports. I tend to like market neighborhood reports as opposed to comparative market analysis, because a market neighborhood report, you are not being specific in terms of what a house or a property's value is. What you're saying is, this is what's happening in the neighborhood, okay? Just sold alerts or just listed alerts are alerts that you can send to your database, again, once you know exactly where they live. Property valuation projections. Property valuation projections could be that you're working in a particular neighborhood or a particular pocket. You know what property values have done over the past 5 years. And you might say, hey, listen, based on what our history has been, this potentially could be where the market ends up being in the next 5 years. And I will typically use that, especially when working with a buyer who's sitting on the fence, not sure that they want to pull the trigger. Then, hey, listen, I get it. I understand. Let me give you an idea of what your position could look like in the next 5 years. So if you bought this property today, after 5 years, this is how much your mortgage principal will be left. Based on what property values have done in the last 5 years, this is what your property value could potentially look like. If we subtract the two, we're going to be left with the net equity that they could potentially have. Sometimes it's really important to be able to do them, all right? Future developments in the area, again, pre-construction or anything else that you can find out from the municipality, from the city, with respect to their planning department and what they have coming down the pipeline. It's always good information to have. And any testimonials or reviews from your past clients. Now, I shared with you earlier on that my satisfaction rate was 98%, right? You know how I know that?
You said 99.
No, I didn't say 99. 98. See, I know I didn't say 99 because I know it's not 99. But I can confidently say it's 98 because I track it. I know, right? I use a system called Real Satisfied. RealSatisfied. realsatisfied.com, and it will allow you to be able to get testimonials from your database or from your clients. And Rank My Agent?
Yes.
Yes, Rank My Agent is just as good. Okay, either of those. But again, knowing the stats and knowing where your satisfaction rating is important, right? Next one is open houses. Now, when you're doing an open house, it's not just to attract buyers, but in many cases, it's really just to satisfy our home sellers, right? Because they want us to do an open house. And sometimes you might not want to do an open house, but hey, it's a great opportunity for you, in most cases, to meet other potential home sellers in that neighborhood. Because trust me, they're coming out to be the nosy neighbor and also to do what? To interview you. They're coming out to see you and how you're doing what you do. Are you the type of agent that they would like to represent them in the sale of their home? So it's a great opportunity for you to prospect and also to obviously meet other potential sellers, just the same. And if you don't have your own potential listing, then it's a good opportunity. I would start by trying to find the right property to do the open house. See, sometimes you might get the announcement that says, hey, you want to do an open house this weekend? And we might jump out there and say, yeah, I'll do the open house, but one, we don't know. We haven't checked the property. We don't know if the property is the right property for us to do an open house. We probably haven't spent enough time getting prepared to market the open house. The open house is tomorrow, and I just said yes, or I just got the announcement today. And so all that we end up doing is going out there, sitting there, hoping that someone's going to actually show up. And I think nothing could be more disheartening and discouraging than spending 2 hours on an open house where nobody showed up. All right? So what you want to do is, after you've determined that this property is the right property for you, it meets in your comfort zone and everything else like that, what you want to do is you want to put a plan together to get as many people coming out to that property as possible, to that open house. So it all starts with online marketing, online traffic, lead generation, promotion, things like that. I'm not really so big on flyers today because most people end up putting that in the garbage and you're limited. But I'm big on online marketing because you can reach thousands and thousands of people, very cost effective, way, way less than it costs you to print flyers, and it's targeted, and you can track the results.
It's more of an invitation than a flyer. Invitation card, you knock the door.
Yeah, that's okay, but I'm getting people that are not necessarily thinking of buying. Right? They're just the neighbor. I'm looking for buyers, or you should be looking for potential buyers to come out. So using online marketing is extremely, extremely effective. Right? Now, one of the things that's important is when you're at the open house, what are you using to gather contact information? Open house sheet? Okay, and what does the sheet look like? Do you have one? Look at that. There's an open house guru right here. Awesome. Thank you. All right, so we've got an open house sheet, which is great. Anybody else have any ideas for open house visitor collecting information?
Yes, it's like 3 columns: name, phone number, and email address.
No. That you can't do. You want to know why you can't do that?
Why?
Because if you create a sheet that everybody has to sign on, it's an invasion of privacy.
Yeah, they don't write the
No,
number.
not the right number. It's an invasion of privacy. Because I can see the person that registered before me, and somebody else is going to come along after me and see my information. So no, you don't want to do that. All right, so here's a technique for you, and here's something for you to consider when doing your open house. I would use Open Home Pro. Ever heard of it?
No.
Okay, Open Home Pro. You're going to use that on your iPad. It's free. You do not have to upgrade. Listen to me, guys. Do not upgrade. You don't need to. Use the free version. Okay? And in the free version, it's going to ask questions, and I would rearrange the way how the questions are structured, but it comes with some default questions. But my questions go like this. First is going to ask them for their name and their email address. Then the next question is to ask them for their phone number. The next question is, how did you hear about the open house? I want to give them some options. Was it Facebook? Was it Realtor.ca? Was it the open house signs? Was it a friend? Was it whatever the case might be? Right? How did they hear about the open house? The next thing I'm going to ask them is, how soon are you looking to buy? Right? Within the next 30 days, 3 months, 6 months, a year, or plus. Next question I'm going to ask, and this is on the iPad. They're filling this all in. Next question I'm going to ask is, have you already been pre-approved for mortgage? Yes or no?
Do you have a realtor?
Huh?
Do you have a realtor?
Not yet. Next question is, would you like to know when other homes like this come on the market? Next question is, do you have a home to sell? Next question is, what is the address? And the next question is, do you have an agent? Are you currently working with an agent? I asked that question last because to me, really doesn't matter. Not saying that it doesn't matter in terms of ethics and in terms of what you should or shouldn't do, but they could very well have an agent and 6 months down the road, they've not bought, they've not sold, they no longer have that agent. Does that make sense?
So you'd still send them material, even though they have an agent?
Yes, because what I'm not doing is, I'm not advocating them to cancel their agency relationship. So I'm not interfering with that relationship. But if they come into my open house and they've registered, I can send them information. Absolutely. 100%. What I'm going to keep a track of in my database, so I'm going to set up categories or tags for all of those questions that I asked. So I can search my database by, do you have an agent? I can search my database by, are you pre-approved for mortgage? I can search my database by, when are you looking to buy? Because each of those questions have now become tags or they become categories. Does it make sense? Right? So it's a great opportunity. What you want to do is you want to maximize that opportunity. You want to maximize the opportunity to gather information when prospective buyers come into your open house, as well as any potential sellers that come into your open house by providing them with market evaluations or neighborhood market.
Do you ask for consent to send them an email, or just the fact that they're filling
Just the fact that they're filling in the information.
consent?
Okay. All right. So as we move along, you actually, I think I've missed a slide. Okay. Yeah. Measurement and optimization. So as you are gathering all of these leads, all of these prospects, all of these people, everything else like that, that you're bringing into your database, all right? What you want to be able to do is you want to be able to have an effective way of really reaching out and connecting with your database and measuring the results from your activities, right? The good old 80-20 rule says that 20% of activities are going to account for 80% of results, and 80% of activities will account for 20% of results. So what you want is you want the 80-20 rule to work in your favor, okay? So you want to spend more time on activities that are going to generate the results that are more important for you. Whether you're doing more open houses, whether you're doing more door knocking, whether you're doing more phone prospecting, whatever it is that's generating the better results for you, that's what you want to spend your time doing, okay? All right, so following up. Following up by far is the most important step in this entire process of prospecting. Right, once you've got a relationship established with your leads, you got to see how likely are they to be planning on selling or buying a house. And usually what happens is, if we don't have a system in place, then usually what happens is we drop the ball. And what happens is they just become another number, name a number on a sheet of paper that we never followed up with. And now we look at it and it's 6 months gone and we're feeling, I don't think I can call because it's too far gone. Any of us have that happen? Any of us looked at some of our leads and they're so old that we don't even bother to call them because we feel embarrassed that we never followed through. We never sent them the information that we said we were going to send them. We never put them into our database. We never called them. We don't even know if they bought, sold, or not. And so they just sit there collecting dust. All right. So the following up is the key. I can't emphasize that to you more than what I've shared with you right now, other than to say to you that 80% of sales require at least 5 follow-up phone calls at a very minimum. Right? At a very minimum, you should be making 5 follow-up phone calls to your leads, your prospects, anyone that you've got that you're putting into your database. And the sad reality is that 44% of salespeople, they give up after just 1 follow-up. All right. So, are we going to do more following up? Yes. We're going to work on our number 1 main important thing that we're going to work on, which is
Positive attitude.
our number 1 thing that we're going to bring to the equation in all of our interactions. Our value proposition, right? Our pitch, our elevator script, whatever that might be, okay? Whatever that might be for you, the lasting thing that I could share with you guys, all right? The lasting thing that I could share with you is why you? Why should I hire you? You tell me, communicate with me why I should hire you, and I'll sign every time on the dotted line. But don't tell me you're a realtor. Don't tell me you're a real estate agent. Right? Tell me what makes you unique, what makes you special, and what's in it for me. And then I think we're good to go. Sounds good? Guys, you've been awesome. I want to give you guys a round of applause. Thank you very, very much. All right? Wish you guys all the success, okay? And if any of you need to reach out to me, if you want to connect with me at all, if you want to have a coaching session with me, it is one-on-one coaching with Eric.com. One-on-one, and it's the number 1. One-on-one coaching with Eric.com. All right? No, sorry. The Open Home Pro.
Actually, it didn't.
It doesn't work on the cell phone.
Android.
It's only on the iPad.
Yes. Because Android doesn't support it. It's on iPhone. I don't support it, but
You need to have an iPad.
yeah.
Did you do it on
This
your
is-
phone?
No,
I found it on my iPad. I got it. I just have to set up like a test. It's pretty amazing.
Mine is Fishkin.
yeah, it's not on the phone. It's on the tablet. All right? Okay. You're welcome. Thank you.
No.
what happens if it stands in the sales in the last 6 months?
Yeah, and it,
Average price.
yes. So it depends on what the results end up being for the area or for the neighborhood, and in terms of how many. But I would go with yes, I would go with number of units sold, average price, and I can send you an example.
That would be great, and
Yes.
I'm also curious if you have to quote like based on the Midwest. You know what I mean? Some kind of
Yes.
something at the bottom.
Yep.
So that would be in the sample you'll send.
I think so.
An example. Yeah.
I think so. If not, marketing will make sure that
Okay.
you're good to go.
Okay, perfect. I'll
Okay.
look for that.
All right.
Eric, we can download this on the computer because Android doesn't support.
It's on the computer. You got to do it on your computer, on your iPad.
See, exactly, that's what I'm saying. It must be. Eric, knowing about the development in the city, we have to go to the city.
Yes.
Thanks, Eric.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Like always, it's so useful.
Quick question. For this year, have you
Yes.
have exactly stop hydrogen?
Yes,
You still, for example,
I do.
She kidding me.
well, in this country, south, that is not the house that happened.
Yes. I can't talk now. I'm gonna wrap this up. And then I'll get to the next appointment. But yes, one-on-one coaching. It's in my picture office. That's where I'm based. And there's no charge fee for the rotation picks up the time. And
I just talked to you.
no, you just go online and book it.
Oh, okay.
Like a one-on-one coaching with every online.
These are all in the country.
Yep.
Okay, I mean, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
You kidding me? That's true. Even so, like, planning a one-on-one in person, even comfortable now. And it's not very clear that one of that should be با آدما خیلی راحت ولی اینکه آدما میگن این مورد